Hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. Uh, I could do 8 separate videos, on this, but I've been doing this marathon for maybe 5-6 months now, and, you're done with it. I know, I'm done with it. So, we're gonna speed run through the last 8 episodes in this one video, and I thought it was fitting to have that. Now, I would have made several videos, but that massive snowstorm that came brought my nieces and nephew over to my house, and I couldn't record because, like, the whole house was crowded. Everyone was everywhere, and so I couldn't record. So that's why I kind of been off, even though I said I would, post. So let's go ahead and start with The Chosen first, which The Chosen has 4 more episodes. House of David has 5. Okay, now let's start. Chosen episode 5. So in this episode, they finally talk about, for the last time before it's a final decision, Jesus' arrest. Are they gonna arrest him? Are they not? Obviously, with me, they know that they're gonna arrest him. And so I believe there was a scene in this from Christmas 2024, around that time, that actually showed this debate between Shmuel and Yusuf, I couldn't think. And then in it, which I'm stating the most important things, but in towards the middle to the end, Rama's father, Kafni, I believe, and all of his men are detained by the Romans as Atticus has been tracking them, obviously because they have been doing some vigilante work. And that's episode 5. Episode 6, the disciples gather all of the food for the Passover meal, and they find a place which is suited by Mark and his father. Mark has been having dreams and has had some dreams for about a few months now about Jesus and the disciples eating in their house, and he's been preparing it, and he finally, this is finally Passover since the dream started, so he set up the table, which would eventually be the Last Supper table. And in this episode, which is what ends the episode, is that Judas makes a deal with Caiaphas to arrest, or to hand them Jesus. So this is when he got the 30 pieces of silver, which in the show was like 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, something like that. It was in that range of like work payments, and that's like, if I was Judas, I would ask for more, or they don't get Jesus, because I'm not selling out him for 4 months of free non-work. That's just stupid. Okay, episode 7, the Last Disciples. This is kind of like a very flashbacky episode. Every disciple is shown leaving at separate times, obviously because of Kafni's men. They're tracking him, and so they all leave at separate times, and every single time they're reminded of something in their past, something right before they follow Jesus, and it's very flashbacky, and I love it because it gives some depth to all the characters. And Thaddeus was a big part of this episode, which I really like, because I think Thaddeus is one of the best, actors here. But besides that, it's just flashbacks, and there's really nothing, even though it's called The Last Supper Part 1, there really isn't any Last Supper at all, besides them getting there. And then episode 8 is The Last Supper, and I thought that they would all be, because at every single start of the episode, they all had parts from The Last Supper, and I thought they'd all be together and squished together, but they weren't, which I'm kind of upset about. But, then we go to the garden, and we see Isaac. It's Isaac, and then there's this very cool moment where Jesus is like calm down, sort of, and not agitated from John, Peter, and Big James sleeping. He just sees them as kids, and I think that's really a nice moment. And then, unfortunately, he does not sweat blood, which I was upset about. I don't know why they didn't do that. You could tell he was getting there, but he wasn't. And the garden scene, and basically close to the end of the episode, is Joseph basically come. And now this isn't real, right? As far as we know, right? I mean, I would like to think that maybe Jesus would have seen Joseph, but I don't know. But we see Joseph, and he basically comforts Jesus and says, I'll be waiting for you. Because Joseph is dead. I mean, there's no record of him in the Bible besides the time of his birth. And so he's probably dead. And so he would know all the stuff that Jesus was going to go through. And then it ends with the temple guards and Judas and Malchus at the gate of the garden, and he's arrested, and it ends with Judas kissing Jesus on the cheek, which is obviously, the sign. I think it's like I think it's called something like the kiss of something. I don't know, but when Judas walks up, Jesus says friend, like clearly saying, you're still my friend even though you're betraying me, which was so deep at the time. Oh my goodness, that was crazy for me, at least. It was okay. And then we end it, and season 6 will pick off right there with everything that happens. So now, let's move on to House of David. Alright, season 1, episode 4. Alright, so again, this is main important stuff. This isn't, the sort of thing of all the episodes. So some things may be left out, some things may be left in, right? Don't know what that means. Okay, so season 1, episode 4 has Samuel find his friend who was tortured and ultimately, burned. Like, his skin was off. Like, there was a skeleton. Like, it was bad. And honestly, that made me sad because, this man had a family, right? And he was just murdered for no reason. And then, David is summoned by Saul to play for him, and that would keep, Saul calm down. Excuse me. And ultimately, he finds Merab and Mahal. I think it's Mahal, actually. I think Merab's the other one. But she has some interesting things too. I'll get back to her in a little bit. But he ends up finding Mahal, who he had seen in that that party, and he sees her again, and obviously the love is kind of shown more. Something that was crazy in this episode was that Mahal and David are left alone in a room, in the library, but in a room. And, obviously now we see that and it's like, oh, that's normal, right? You don't, even if, friends that are, boy and girl, and they go into a room, it's not gonna look weird. I mean, but back then, you were murdered for going in a room alone with a woman. If you were a guy and you were in a room that was not your wife, no, you'd be dead. You would be murdered. And so the queen finds them, and if this was real, she would have called for Saul to execute David. Like, it's bad, right? So, it's crazy. I was like screaming, like, oh my goodness. And then episode 6, or I skipped 5, sorry. Episode 5. It's mainly filler. There's no importance in this episode. Like, yeah, there's like here and there, to build up to the next episode, but obviously, filler episode. It's just kind of there, right? It didn't need to be there. Besides, like, the main points would be David starting to understand more and more what it means to be anointed. Now, episode 6, the Philistines summon the giants, summon Goliath to train, and then obviously he will take on the Israelites. And Saul's mind in this episode is so bad. The queen, who's basically been controlling everything while Saul has been kind of away, dealing with his mind. Not completely, as Saul still is like in and out, but now she's basically just taking full control. Episode 7, it's kind of filler. I mean, this is a part 1, so part 1s usually are like not so crazy, but yeah, the Israelites are called to war, and they should prepare for battle. I don't know why my voice went like battle. I believe there's one point in this episode that it's night and one of the tribes is trying to leave, and then trying to leave or trying to ambush, and the Philistines just murk them, like flambeaus and everything, murked. Alright, episode 8, David versus Goliath happens. It's toward the end, but, it's kind of the main point. It was, these 2 episodes were called David and Goliath. David and Goliath, maybe? I think. David and Goliath part 1 and David and Goliath part 2. So, David and Goliath, I mean, obviously beforehand, because this is at the end, they're all just kind of, it's mostly filler, right? We gotta get that runtime. We gotta get that runtime so that we can have this big battle at the end. Sort of big battle. But David versus Goliath, and then once Goliath's head is sliced off, it's a final cut to the Israelites who are yelling and charging at the Philistines, and then it ends. And season 2, which is already out, if you have the Wonder Project on Amazon Prime, you've probably already watched that. But for me, I'll have to wait another month, I believe. I don't think it's coming to Amazon Prime, even though it's technically there. I don't think it's coming to Prime members until like March, and even then I don't know if I'll have to wait like 2 weeks, a week, 3, close to April, alright, but that was it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Obviously this was like 5 and 6 months in the making, so it kind of feels great to be done with this. I can finally post content again. We got some big things coming out later today, 10 a.m. Central. They may already be out if you're watching this around that time. But yeah, so yeah, peace, bye, love, each and every single. Or I've been forgetting I didn't get back in the habit of it. I just kind of saying it, but I remember everything. Peace, bye, love, each and every single one of you. I'll see you on the next one, which is not later today. You'll understand. Later. You'll understand. All right. So, bye, guys. I can't wait to do a season 6. It will be as the episodes come out. I should have done that with this. I thought about it, but it will be when the episodes come out. All right. Love y'all. Bye. That didn't turn off.